Oh, hello, and welcome to episode 14 of Campers and Vans Getting Coffee. This episode, I have on Michael Fuehrer. He is super friendly, super fun, just such a nice, helpful guy. And he has really turned living on the road into like a super social, like community driven thing. It's super cool. Technically he lives by himself in his 35-foot converted school bus, but it sleeps six. It's a big, long school bus. So he always has people in there with him, basically living with him. So he has his friends, he has his family for a bit. He just has people that he's met on the road that he seem cool and he wants to hang out with. So he does all this cool stuff and he meets a bunch of people. He helps a lot of people with building and renovating their buses and goes to festivals and events and that kind of stuff and helps them out. So this is a good, just fun episode where we talk about all that. So here is Michael and here is the episode. Hello, Michael. How's it going?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, man. Thanks for being on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was a bit fun trying to get on, but we found some internet and found some time, so glad to be here.
Yeah, the endless struggle to find internet, right?
Yeah. I feel like you must have a good bit of trouble getting people on because I'd imagine most people are traveling, and I'm sure we all have the same struggles with internet. So it's probably always fun for you.
Yeah, definitely, very true. But it always works out. We always figure out a way, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
That's life, I guess.
Yeah.
So just to start off, on your Instagram account, NavigationNowhere, your description says, bus life, I live on a school bus. And then it says, I do sleep at Walmart occasionally. I like that, man. So is that like the question you get all the time?
Yeah. People are always wondering, I guess, where I sleep, where I go. I guess they, I don't know. I guess they don't really think about the part where they look at the photos and they see you doing something, but they never really sit down and think about where does he sleep every night or where does he park this thing? So yeah, I get that question a lot. So I like to just joke around the fact that, I like to say that, 2 nights out of the week, I'm sleeping in a cool spot and the rest of the time it's probably in a rest area or a Walmart. And, that's just the way it goes a lot of times.
Yeah, that's life. Cool. So, can you just tell us a bit about yourself and maybe like kind of how this all got started and how you, like what kind of caused the decision to build this bus and live on the road?
Yeah. I guess I started this about 2 years ago now, actually, when I bought my bus, or actually it's over 2 years. I bought it 2 years and a month ago when it was just a yellow school bus. I was in graduate school and studying and doing some research work and whatnot. And I lived in a very small room apartment on campus. And I just really enjoyed designing that space and kind of having everything I needed within, a fairly good reach. And when I finished school, I moved home like the typical college graduate. Coming home, I ended up moving into my parents' basement once again, like a typical college graduate. And it was just such a big space. I felt very uncomfortable with it. I felt stuck. So that's where I started looking into kind of moving into a van or eventually I found a school bus. And it was just something that I wanted to have an outlet where I could go after the things that I wanted to go after, still be able to travel, continuously now that I've been doing. And it just kind of led me down this road to kind of look for something alternative and ended up finding a school bus on Craigslist and was like, well, that's what I'm going to do. And like I said, bought that 2 years ago and just kind of built it out to whatever I could dream up and haven't looked back since.
Right on. Sweet. It's a good story. So you kind of enjoyed or liked having a smaller space. You kind of figured that out when you were going to school.
Yeah, I really did. It was, I don't know what it was about just maybe the comfort or just kind of the closeness of space, but it was fun to me and a challenge to me to live in a small space, but then still try to fit everything I'd want in that small space. So, moving into a school bus as a home was kind of very natural for me because it was fun to take this, old vehicle and just say, man, how can I put as many cool things in this thing as possible and still make it functional? And, it's also a big challenge to me, which I kind of enjoy, taking on the kind of the next thing that I'm trying to challenge myself with, which, at this point in my life, it's kind of traveling and designing the school buses. So.
Cool. Yeah, I can kind of relate to that. I like the just the design challenge of thinking how you're going to fit everything in here and make it all work together and be functional and have everything you need. It's cool to think about that stuff. It's fun, huh?
Yeah. No, it's a lot of fun.
So why did you? Well, I guess how did you find this bus? You said on Craigslist. Did you just go on Craigslist one day and this was the first thing you found, or was it like an in-depth search?
No, I did everything that I tell everyone not to do when buying a school bus. So now I do social media stuff and post videos online about bus life and building and whatnot. And pretty much everything that I post is like everything I should have done. I literally went on Craigslist, found a school bus in the Northeast, and pretty much went to go look at it and pretty much bought it. It was a not rusty bus, but it was from the Northeast, so it had more rust than I would suggest someone get. It was a good price, but it also had a bit of engine work that needed to be done, and I definitely could have found a much better bus if I would have done more research and actually put the back in. But it was kind of just this thing that I was like, I'm going to live in a school bus, and a week later I was like, well, pulling the trigger, here we go, got the school bus. So. But yeah, so anyone who's listening, don't buy a rusty bus and don't buy the first one you see, most likely. Do your research and whatnot. But it was good because by having that bus and by having the engine issues, it made me have to go through the learning process of a complete rebuild. So that was a really good experience that I'm thankful for now, but definitely could have done without all that metal work and engine work.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I kind of like when I was 15, for some reason I got in my head that I wanted to buy an old car and fix it up myself and kind of learn how to do it. So like I kind of fell in love with these Bricklins. I only built like a few thousand of them, but they're cool. They have like DeLorean kind of doors on them, like the Back to the Future car. So I thought they were just so cool. I found one on Craigslist that was close by and like immediately went and bought it. Didn't even sit in it or anything, and then started fixing it up. And then basically by the time I kind of got it all ready to go and fixed up and it was started running and everything, I sat in it and I couldn't even fit in it. Like I'm only 6'1", but I just didn't even have any headroom. So I kind of like fell for the same trap you did, where I just kind of picked the first thing and didn't even really think about it, and then like I couldn't even drive it really, man. And so it kind of sucks, but yeah. So, I mean, are there any specific, do you have like a checklist now that you recommend to people when they're looking for a vehicle or a bus? Is it just kind of like low miles, no rust, that kind of stuff?
Yeah. So yeah, if you're looking for a school bus, I usually recommend people start looking at their purpose of life. Like, why are they trying to go into the bus life or road life? Because that's going to tell you what type of bus is going to be right for you. So if you're trying to be a full-time traveler like me or some other people, you're not necessarily maybe going to want a 40-foot school bus because it's going to be a lot harder to get around. And it's also going to be restrictive in national parks and a lot of, switchback roads out west. So you might want to be going for a smaller bus or things like that. So knowing why you're going into the bus life and what you intend your life to look like is going to help you try to find, the bus that's going to fit your lifestyle best. And then looking at like the drivetrain, the engine and transmission differential combos, because you'll get various different gas mileages and speeds depending on the school bus. And then lastly, just rust condition and overall condition of the bus. It's really hard to find a rust-free bus, but a pretty good one is where you want to go, because rust is something that will always eat away at you unless you literally really cut it out and remediate it. But I just actually put up a video on YouTube about how to buy a bus that kind of outlines all of that. So I was hoping that helping people not make the mistakes that I've made in the past with buses and stuff is definitely a part of my line of work. And what I hope to do.
Yeah, no, it's cool. That's definitely going to help people out for sure.
Yeah.
What's your YouTube?
Just Navigation Nowhere as well. I'm a little OCD with making sure everything's the same because I can't handle having 5 different names. So I just pretty much have everything's Navigation Nowhere. It's easy for me and easy for people to find this stuff.
Yeah, definitely nice when you can get all the same.
Yeah, I got lucky.
Yeah. So why did you decide on a school bus? Did you like consider like a van or any other type of vehicles?
Yeah, I did. Before I actually bought my school bus, I lived in a car for a little bit. A nice little Nissan Sentra, and a Toyota. I think it's a Toyota Highlander. I think it is. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was looking into vans, but something just, I don't know, something about a bus just kind of like hit me. I was like, that's kind of cool. I want to do that. It was also a lot more affordable for what you're getting. I found like school buses you can pick up for $2,000 to $5,000. Chassis, engine, and everything all in pretty good shape. Mm-hmm. So for me, for what you were getting, even from a short bus to a big bus, for that price, it just felt like a really good option for me in terms of space to design with. And having a bit more room, because the one thing I did want is to be able to actually live on the road with a bit of comfort, because I did the road trip and stuff. I did the cars, and I was kind of looking in a direction where I wanted to be able to actually have a home where I could bring people over and also have it mobile. So a bigger school bus for me was really the direction I was looking. A van would be cool. But I just kind of felt like I was kind of over my zipping around the country. I thought I was over my zipping around the country days. So yeah, I think a bus just kind of fit perfectly for me, and now I love it. I mean, I don't think I would ever go to anything else beside buses.
Yeah, man, it definitely looks sweet. I love, because like anyone who hasn't seen this, go check it out. It looks so cool with the green paint that you've painted on the outside and like the wood accents and stuff. It looks awesome. I love it.
Yeah. Thanks, man.
Yeah, it's sweet. So do you just live in this thing alone, right?
Yeah, so I do live in it alone, but I've only actually been alone in it for like a month. I've had, I think, 11 roommates now, which is funny because everyone always asks me online, they're like, how do you take photos? Like, are you by yourself all the time? And it's funny because like I'm usually not. It's just sometimes people don't want to be in photos, or it's kind of, we're just like zipping around, not really, taking, if you watch my stories, you'll see people, but, in a lot of photos, it's usually not. But it's kind of funny. I built the bus to have people over. That was one of the things that I decided when I was going to live on the road was, I was going to do it with the intention of community and people. So my bus, I like to tell people, is way too big for just me. I would totally go to a small bus. But I built my bus for the intent of having people live with me and other travelers or people I meet. So my bus actually sleeps 6 people, has storage that is completely empty right now because it's 4 people. So that's kind of, a little counterintuitive maybe to like minimizing, and the fact that like I have a bigger bus than, maybe one person needs. But that's where it goes back to my, how to buy a bus type thing. What's your purpose? And my purpose was community and people. So I built a bus with that intent in mind. Yeah, it's kind of fun.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, you have like, that's just awesome that you knew you wanted to do that. So, you bought a bigger bus and made it so it could sleep 6 people. That's awesome. So are these like people who are staying with you, are they kind of friends that you've previously had or family, or is this just kind of people that you have met on the road and just kind of connected with?
Yeah, it's been both. I have had friends from, high school and stuff come with me. My parents actually lived with me for like 4 weeks. I've had people who I've met on the road, just fellow travelers. It just kind of meet up with people. I've met people where they've actually left their cars, like they're road camping, and they just left their car somewhere at a national park or something, and they lived with me for like 2 weeks, and then we looped back around and dropped them off. I mean, just kind of like go a little bit, go with the flow and have some fun with it. I mean, that's why I think that's why I'm on the road, and I would imagine a lot of other people are.
Yeah, that's so cool because I always kind of get like not concerned, but it's just kind of in the back of my head that like being on the road could be kind of lonely. But I mean, when you just integrate it, into your vehicle that you want to have people with you, I mean, that sounds so fun. It sounds awesome.
Yeah, I haven't. Funny to say. Like, I don't think I've ever really been lonely on the road, which is something I too was kind of worried about in a way. So I was thinking, eventually, is this gonna, am I gonna run out of people to hang out with, or are people not gonna want to come on the bus and live with me? Are they gonna, find other things to do or work or things? But I've never had an issue. Things just keep popping up, and random people just give me calls and stuff. They're like, "Hey, I'm looking to do this," and I'm like, "Oh, that sounds cool. Let's do it together." Okay.
Oh, that's so cool, man. That's awesome. And then you have like you kind of built like a custom table that kind of goes in the middle where you could have like a dinner party with like 8 people in there, huh?
Yeah. So the living room area in the front, it's a living room, it's a spare bedroom, and it's a dining room. So if you were to look through photos, or if anyone looks it up, you'll see essentially the 2 front couches, which are I think 82 inches. I think I measured them out. And yeah, they can sit like 4 people, but then they also fold out into a big 44 square foot bed. And then it also that big table pulls out that can dine 8. So yeah, it's kind of like I was saying, a little overkill in terms of size, but it goes back to I just wanted to build something that I just wanted to dream up, and also that could functionally, fit people. So yeah.
Cool. So have you had 8 people in there for dinner yet, or has that not happened?
Oh yeah. No, we out in Oregon. I don't even know. Like last year, I was at a festival with a bunch of other bus life guys, and I think we had like 16 people who live on buses. We were all eating dinner in my bus. And we had a big bus life potluck. And then in Florida, which is kind of crazy, we tried to see how many people we could fit in my bus. And we got 64 people. I think it was 64 people, 2 dogs, and a pig.
What the heck?
Yeah. There's a photo somewhere out there on the internet. I don't know where it is. But yeah, we like just wanted to see. I think I literally bottomed out my suspension on the bus because that thing was like a 72 passenger for kids.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it was packed. But yeah, that was I don't know if that's a record or what. I mean, we gotta start recording this stuff for all the bus lifers out there. We can see who can fit the most people, person per square feet.
Yeah, for real. Let's get Guinness World Records out here, So I guess you named your bus too. What's your bus's name?
My bus name is Navi, which is just short for NavigationNowhere. So people always think it's Navy or I'm in the military or something, and it didn't even occur to me until someone said it. But
that's good. Navi, short and to the point and descriptive. I like it.
Yeah. And little did I know, someone actually, this young guy, I forget his name, but about a year ago, he came up to me and was telling me about Navi, and he's telling me the story about how Navi is apparently the little fairy from Zelda, I think it's Zelda, and it's essentially the little fairy that like guides him on his travels. And he was like, "That's so smart of you to do that." And I was like, "Yeah, I never knew that." And so apparently I unknowingly picked a name that apparently already has a meaning to it. So yeah.
Well, it worked out. Good job, I guess.
Yeah. Good mistakes.
So how long did the like whole conversion renovation kind of thing take?
Yeah, my bus took about 9 months from start to finish. So I did it over the course of a whole year, but I kind of took a 3-month break in the middle and went on a road trip. So it took me a year, but only 9 months of building the bus.
Right. Was that pretty much full time, or were you doing other stuff too?
No, I was working full time during that. So I was working 9 to 5, and then I would work on the bus like 6 to 2 in the morning, and just kind of do that every day. It was like the secret project that no one knew about at work. I'd come in tired, and they'd all look at me, and I'd be like, "I don't want to talk about
it." Oh man, that's great. The love of the grind, I guess.
Yeah, no, for sure. Especially when it's something that like you enjoy, you're passionate about, and I mean, I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that when they, really want to do something. You just start going for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. So you have You have a bathroom and a shower. Well, you have like a wet bath in there, right?
Yeah, yeah, it's a shower bathroom combo. It takes up about 2 windows of the bus. So there's a Nature's Head toilet in there, and then a 32 by 32 inch shower base, and it's all one room that's tiled, so it can all get wet and it's easy to clean. So yeah, it's hard to get a photo of it. So people usually always ask me, "You're like, where's your shower?" And it's in there. It's just tucked in the wall. So yeah.
Yeah, I like it. It's cool. I love the like white tile with the like darker grout. I love that look. It looks so cool.
Yeah.
So do you use your shower often?
No, not not as often. It's funny. I live in a bus that I built out to be very functional, as nice as I can make it. But I still live a very road trip lifestyle. I still like, will shower like maybe once a week in there, maybe even less. And I'll just, use public, showers or things like that. Cause then I don't have to worry about my water tanks as much and whatnot. And, so it's kind of funny. I still kind of live like I'm living in a car, even though I live in a big old bus. But it's there if I need it. If I'm, if I don't know, I'm going somewhere I need to shower, I have it. And, if I want to use it, I mean, I have more than enough water, on the bus, to use it. It's just, I don't know. I just don't.
Yeah, that's like, it's interesting kind of doing this show. I get to talk to a lot of people about this kind of stuff, and a lot of people think they really need a shower and are going to use it a lot, but it usually ends up being similar to you, where they don't use it as much as they thought, and they just kind of use public showers. It's just kind of easier to do that, I guess, huh?
Oh yeah, it's definitely easier. I built the shower because, I did want it, just in case, I'm going to a festival this weekend. So, I'll be talking to people and, can't exactly, smell or, look like I haven't showered in a while. So, it'd be nice. It's nice to have the shower in those instances. It's also nice when I have people living with me who maybe aren't as used to the road life. Where then it's there where they can use it as well. So it is a nice thing to have for maybe my lifestyle and the way I'm doing things. But yeah, it's definitely something that, I think people coming from a traditional style of living, they like think they need it. They also think they need to shower every single day. And, something they find out once they get on the road, that it's maybe not as essential as some other things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. So you mentioned your tanks on this thing. How big are your tanks?
Yeah, I have 130 gallons of fresh water on my bus. Yeah, so my bus I designed to be off-grid and self-sufficient for a minimum of like 6 to 7 weeks for me. So I have massive water tanks. I have a 29-gallon propane tank. I'm completely off-grid on solar and stuff. And I did that because I really do enjoy the outdoors and kind of going out and to some, no cell phone, boondocking spots. And I don't want to have to come back to town for, water every 4 or 5 days. So, I use about 2 gallons a day. And, obviously I'm not showering all the time. But, that can last me a really long time. And I have full holding tanks as well. So I'm not dumping the gray water and stuff, out in nowhere. But that goes back to, once again, your purpose of living. For me, I was building it to be self-sufficient, super off grid, where some people may be traveling, a little differently, so they can get away with maybe 40 gallons or so. And, I think that's just a bit of it. Also, 130 gallons is great for when you have like 5 people living with you on the bus, because they just, sometimes people who are living on the road don't understand conserving water. So you end up, hey, I'll do the dishes. No, I got them.
Yeah, totally. So I'm curious how did you install the tanks? Do you like buy like a tank that big and just find a place to fit it on the bus? Like, how does that all work?
Yeah. Well, on conventional style school buses, which are the bigger bodies, they're all center, most of them, there's a couple that aren't, but they're center frame designs. So they're like truck frames. So you actually have about 26 to 28 inches in between the frame rail and the exterior body. And it's typically about, I think it's like 2 feet deep. So you have a pretty good space underneath the bus to rack stuff. So our RV tanks and a lot of custom truck tanks, they already fit in those spaces. So I just simply got tanks, RV plastic tanks, and just created rails for them and just racked them right underneath the frame rails. So if you look at my bus, you can't see the water tanks, but they're actually underneath the bus. I guess in between the wheel wells, you could say.
Oh, okay. I guess that makes sense. So are there just kind of like, when you get looking at it, is there just a bunch of different sizes and types of tanks that you can choose from, and you just found the best one for you?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, you can get custom made tanks by companies. You can buy cheaper tanks off eBay. I mean, there's so many options. The RV market is huge. So, I mean, there's so many options you can go with for those types of things. I mean, you can even DIY a lot of types of tanks and stuff. It's just a matter, I think, of people's budget and, what they're looking to do. I ended up buying like kind of non-baffled RV tanks, which were cheaper, and just kind of use those and make them work because it was in my budget and they were going to fit my space. But you can also do things that are, different or cheaper.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. And then you have a composting toilet too, you said, right?
Yeah, I do. It's in the bathroom. It's a Nature's Head style, which I think is pretty typical for a lot of people on the road, it seems.
So how does that work?
So the composting toilets I had no clue when I first got it. I was like, everyone's talking about this composting toilet. I'm going to buy one. And, so essentially it separates your liquids and solids, with a diverter in the toilet. So when you open it, it's not going to look like a normal toilet. It's going to have, two different chutes. Essentially what it does is it separates the liquids and solids. You dump the liquids, and, the solids you mix with some type of, composting material. So people use peat moss, wood chips. There's a couple other ones out there. I don't remember that people have mentioned that they use. But that kind of takes the moisture out of your solids and kind of essentially turns it into a dirt. Then you can dump that, use it as fertilizer. People do. It's got a lot of uses at that point, but and it doesn't smell as much as people think, because the reason why things smell is because you're mixing the liquids and the solids, and when you separate them and dehydrate the solids, you really actually don't have much of a smell at all. So.
Oh, okay, interesting. Yeah, I really had no idea how that worked. I was kind of like you, where I'd heard it all the time, but I wasn't sure exactly what it was. So thanks for explaining it.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I like it as an option because I did not want to have black water tanks or anything like that. Having a toilet on my bus is something that I did want because it's being out in the middle of the woods and stuff, or driving on the highway, not always having to rely on public restrooms and stuff. It's definitely an advantage, and not to have to worry about the black water tanks or any of that. That's just disgusting to me.
Yeah, those things are definitely a pain. So how often do you kind of have to empty this toilet or kind of deal with it?
I think I empty it probably every, about a week and a half usually. And that's typically just because, I'm not, if I used it solely just to use that, I'd probably have to empty it earlier. I think it's rated for like 5 days or something. But I do, use public restrooms if I'm at the gas station or something. So, if I'm sleeping at that occasional Walmart, you might run in there. It works.
Cool. Yeah. That definitely seems like something that they also have, and that seems more used than the shower, I'd say, from what I've heard,
Yeah, for sure.
And then so in the back you have another bed, right? But it's also a couch that converts into a bed.
Yep.
So is it annoying not to have kind of a permanent bed that you all can just always have, or are you cool with kind of making it and putting it up every day?
I'm fine with making it every day. That's one thing that I really kind of decided early that I didn't really mind. I'd rather have the space back there to sit and read or hang out with people. I also have an office back there where there's actually desks that fold out. So having that multifunctional space was more important to me than having a permanent bed. Mm-hmm. So I don't mind flipping it out. It takes me like not even a minute to convert it, and it's not really that big of a hassle. It also forces me to clean up every day, because I don't really like leaving messes, and having the functional multiple spaces means once you finish a task, you pretty much have to clean it up to convert to a new task. So it really keeps you organized and clean as well. So yeah, it works for me.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, it's something you only use really like a third of the time anyway. So I guess it does make, practical sense to have it convert into something else, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, very true.
I mean, some people they do, and I mean, buses, unlike maybe vans and stuff, you have a bit more room to play around with like Murphy bed styles and flip bed styles and things like that. So, I mean, I think with a lot of these designs that are out there already that you can find on the internet, I mean, it's kind of like, why not? I mean, why not have that space? Even if you want to use like a real memory foam, bed or something, like having it fold away in some manner is just kind of like fun to design and build. Challenge yourself to do it, but also just like, why not use the space for something else?
Yeah, totally. So I'm curious about the, do you know what kind of MPG you get on your bus?
Yeah. Right now I'm getting about 10 miles per gallon.
Okay.
And mine runs on diesel. So yeah, when I first got the bus, it was running about 5 miles per gallon. But I did some work on the engine and differential and got the gear ratios to give me a better gas mileage, because when you drive a whole bunch, gas is pretty much your mortgage. So having that number as high as possible is super important.
Wow, that's cool. I didn't know. That's awesome that you were able to kind of bump it up 100%. That's crazy. I didn't even know that was really possible.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on what bus you get, in terms of, buses are made to climb mountains, buses are made to drive on highways, and getting the right engine differential combinations are important, because you could go buy a bus that you think looks great and then end up never getting the thing going over 50 miles an hour and you have horrible gas mileage. Whereas you could buy the exact same model bus with a different drivetrain from a different state and the thing can be getting like 10, 12 miles per gallon. So it's just, something that I typically suggest people to really look into when they're buying buses, because they don't think about that cost until they're done. And then they go, oh no, what do we do?
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. I never even thought about that. Is that something that could be changed, or is it kind of set in stone?
No, it can be changed. There's a lot of things you can do. I guess the easiest thing would be, you can just change your tire size sometimes. So if you have a smaller wheel tire, you can bump up the size. That gives you a different rotation. You can switch out the differential in the rear, which is a bit more work, and unless you're probably a mechanic or pretty handy, you're most likely gonna have to pay someone to do that. But that's pretty much going to be one of the biggest things you can do, and without having to really go into the transmission or anything like that. But that's what I ended up doing. I switched out the rear end to give me better mileage and speed.
Right, I see. Yeah, so it can be changed, but I guess it's ideal to find one that's set to what you want in the first place, huh?
Yeah, it saves you money and saves you a lot of time and hassle.
Yeah, for sure. So are you how do you like to travel? Are you more of are you moving a lot? Are you on the road almost every day, or do you kind of find a spot and like to stay for a bit?
Yeah, I do travel continuously. Pretty much this past year, I've done I think I've done almost 30,000 miles this past year. So I do move consistently. I don't really stick around areas too long, and a lot of that's just because of opportunities that come up living on the road, and just events or places I show up at. So I kind of just plan a route, maybe a month or two in advance and kind of start going. So yeah, I'm moving pretty consistently. Right now, I'm a little bit more stationary. I'm actually, in and off my bus right now, because I'm actually helping a friend on a bus build out west. So I'm kind of flying back and forth, doing that. So I'm a little bit more stationary right now, I guess you could say, in about 2 locations. But that's only for a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, I mean, that's the cool thing is you could do whatever you want, really,
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, as long as I can find somewhere to park it or leave it, and it's pretty good. So
yeah. So you mentioned like different opportunities and things that come up. What kind of stuff is that? What kind of stuff are you doing?
Yeah. So I guess this goes a little bit into, I guess, work and things like that. Just from living on the road, I first lived on the road. I was planning on just doing research work, using my graduate degree and doing that. But it quickly kind of switched into this fun kind of like bus life, tiny living type scenario where I just started going to tiny house festivals and I just started doing things online and things just started clicking. Now I travel around with some of the festivals and I've been asked to speak at some of the festivals, which is now actually a way for me to help people get information out there about bus life and helping people make the good decisions and how to do it. It also I can get paid doing that. It's kind of now I'm almost traveling the same way I was traveling, but now I'm kind of also working while I'm traveling, and it's all kind of just kind of coming together around bus life essentially, which is kind of cool and not something I expected going into this.
Yeah, that's awesome that that kind of presented itself. That's cool. So is most of the income that you make now like related to speaking and helping other people with buses and that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I would say right now I'm getting closer to like probably 75% of my income is now actually completely online. Before I would stop, and do work. I did seasonal work, farm work, housework, just doing typical kind of road traveling work. While I was trying to build up, kind of an online network to be able to start actually writing blogs and doing things around bus and travel related things. And at this point, yeah, I'm about probably 75% of my income now is coming from something to do with buses, which is kind of funny to me.
No, that's awesome. That's cool that you're able to get that going. So what was kind of the stuff you were doing before? What, like the stuff that you were stopping off and helping with?
Yeah, so I would just kind of do working like work camping and things like that. So I was worked on a farm, which you can do if anyone's looking to travel. You can do like seasonal farm work and make some money doing that. They're usually sometimes short term because you're just during the harvest or something like that. I have some construction experience in terms of building, so my bus and stuff. So I also did, a lot of house renovation work, doing just projects for people when I met people, around the country or even back east where I'm from. I did a lot of that. So I would stop for like a week or two and just like do a big bathroom renovation or something, make some money and then move on. And it was fun. And I still would like to do that in the future because I really enjoy that kind of work. And I think it really grounds you to do that work. I'd like to do it because I want to do it, not because I have to stop and do it, which is, I think it's just a little bit of a difference where if I can choose to stop and do work like that and help people, it'd be nice to rather than, being like, oh man, I got to find a gig in 2 weeks.
Yeah. Yeah. Working when you want to, because you want to, not because you have to, is definitely a nice thing to have, huh? Wow, that's cool. So how did you find these jobs? Were they just people you met, or was there like kind of an online thing you found or anything like that?
I didn't use anything online. I know that there are things out there that I know people have mentioned. I don't exactly know what they're called, but I'm sure if you do research and Google it, I'm sure people can find different forum online things. I just did it pretty much through word of mouth where I'd meet people traveling and they'd be like, hey, I'm going to do this project. Like, my uncle has this construction company and we're doing this project. And like, okay, cool. Or you meet someone who's like, hey, we're going to this farm next week and we're going to do some harvesting. Like, you want to come? Like, yeah, okay. And you just kind of develop a network. There's a really good community on the road that I feel like people don't realize until they're on the road, until they're on the road. That we really do look out for each other. We share this information with each other and help each other out. And I feel like word of mouth and just getting involved in the community is probably one of the best resources to finding these gigs because you're going to find the best ones that way. And you're going to end up at experiences and places you would have never thought you would be before by just kind of the community.
Wow, very cool. So how would you recommend somebody kind of get involved with the community? Is that like going to these different festivals and events and that kind of stuff?
I mean, that's one way. That's going to be, yeah, that's going to be one way you could do it is, showing up to some of these events. I know there's a lot of, van life gatherings. There's a couple school bus gatherings. Some of these, tiny house like events maybe aren't for everyone, but you can also go to those. And there are a lot of people at those. There's a good network. But also just simply traveling. I mean, I feel like a lot of the friends that I've met and people I've now, in good contact with are, just fellow travelers that I just meet hiking one day. One of my previous roommates on the bus was this girl that I met out in Montana about 2 years ago. We were just hiking and she didn't have bear mace, and she was like, "Hey, I don't have bear mace. Can you guys go up the mountain with me?" And me and a couple, friends, we were like, "Yeah, sure." So we end up hiking back up the mountain, going up there, and a year later, she's traveling on the bus with me with like 4 other people, and it's just like random person you meet, and now we're friends, and it's kind of fun. So just having the openness and kind of giving yourself the ability to be vulnerable with people in ways. You can really get yourself some really cool friendships and really cool experiences. So yeah, I think it's probably something a good way for people to get in the community.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like ways you don't even know. It just kind of happens, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, very cool. I had one thing I want to ask you about on your. I think it's on your bio on your website. You talk about that you don't want to confine yourself to one job or one place, really.
Yeah.
But this is kind of something that I think about and struggle with a bit is like, because I kind of feel like you, where I enjoy doing a bunch of different stuff, and like even like the design stuff, I feel kind of the same way. But I'm like, should I kind of do all this different stuff and do kind of different fun things, or should I kind of look at one thing and become like really good at it and master it and become hopefully the best at it? Like, is that something you've ever thought about?
Yeah, I think so. I think, I mean, I can relate a lot to what you're saying with your personality in terms of like just wanting to, do something or do a lot of things and do it well. I think for me, I built a school bus and had no intention of doing anything in the future with buses in terms of work. But I just wanted to build myself the coolest bus I can imagine. And that was my challenge to myself. And I did that for myself. And I built what I was proud of. And then when I started living on it, it was kind of like I was looking for a new challenge. And that's kind of when working online showed up, where I was like, hey, I want to see if I can challenge myself to work online and do social media type stuff. Because previous to me building this bus, I had zero anything online, no Facebook, no nothing. All I had was an email, my college email. So I had zero experience with online stuff. So it was kind of one of those things where I just picked a new challenge and was like, I'm going to go for this and just see what I can do and challenge myself in new ways. And I've enjoyed that. And now recently, I've met a bunch of friends who are on YouTube and stuff, and they were like, hey, why don't you give a shot at doing videos? And I was like, I've never done a video before. And well, they're like, just go for it. Just, make it your next thing. So, just recently I started doing that. I have no clue what it's going to look like. I have no clue really what I'm doing. But it's kind of just the next challenge that I'm going to challenge myself to and see if I can learn the skills of making videos. And it's not about where does it go or how big can you get. It's more of just, I want to just build something that's really cool, that I find to be creative and something I can be proud of in a way. So I think that's kind of the way I do it, where I don't want to be confined to, just being in an office doing something 9 to 5 or only having one job description under my name. I enjoy the challenge of, bringing up new things into my life and trying to learn and tackle that new thing and just keep growing. So I think that's the way I kind of handle it in my life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like the way you framed it, where it's just kind of like different challenges that you want to learn about and overcome, I guess, really, and just kind of how they kind of lead into each other, like different things arise, and you just think, yeah, it's kind of cool. I want to try it out. I like it. Yeah. The way you think about that is cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so now I just have like a couple questions here left that I just want to ask you. Sure. So what purchase of $100 or less in recent memory that you've made has had the most like impact on kind of your life or living in the bus?
So $100
or less, if you can think of anything really.
I don't know. I haven't really bought anything in a while.
It could just be like maybe a component of your bus that you really enjoy that has made life easier for you or better somehow, maybe.
A backup camera.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I bought a backup camera for my bus and have it all installed and whatnot. That thing is a lifesaver on the highways. So I guess that's something that I put on and recently did, I guess, in some way. It's kind of the last big thing. It wasn't really that big, but yeah, I think that's super important because now I have no blind spots on my bus while driving. So it's a big safety thing.
Yeah, totally. Is that you more use that when you're on the like the highway and stuff?
Oh, it's always on. I wired it in, so I have a monitor up on the dash now, so it's always on whenever the bus is on. So yeah, it's not just like for reverse. It's kind of more of like just a sight camera at this point. So
yeah,
that's a lifesaver.
It is weird driving a vehicle when you have like no rear window and you can't see anything. You definitely have to get used to that with just the mirrors,
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Driving the buses definitely was an interesting first challenge.
Yeah, for sure.
Bought the bus and forgot that I had to drive it, and then I was like, oh man, this thing's like 35 feet long. How am I going to do this? And now it's all I drive, and it's like now when I go back to a car, I like forget that it doesn't have air brakes, and I can make really small like turns, and I still take turns wide and stuff. My family yells at me and they're like, you don't need to drive like that. I'm like, oh, sorry.
Okay. So what do you think is like, what kind of sucks about living on the road in the bus? Like what are some misconceptions that people have about it, you think?
It's not really something that bothers me, but I definitely think, due to like kind of the social media life, that people live and post and whatnot, people don't know that not every day is like perfect and not every day is like that Instagram photo. Mm-hmm. I think there are a lot of days where you don't know where you're going to park at night and it's like 8:00 at night and you're like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? Like, where do I go? Or, you're just, run out of water or run out of propane or something and it's not what you expected. And all of a sudden you're like out in the middle of nowhere and you're like, now what do I do? So I think there's different challenges living on the road. It's not like this easy life. Like you're going to go from traditional living in a house and then you're going to live on the road and be like, all your problems are going to go away. It's just a different type of, set of issues that you have to deal with. If you live in a house, I like to tell people and your hot water heater breaks, you got to fix it. And that stinks. Well, if you're in a bus, and your engine or your turbo or tire blows, it's the same thing. Something's going to go wrong. It's just, you just got to fix it and go through the situation and learn from it. So I think people kind of have this road trip image of it when you're living full time, it's your life. So, you deal with the same things you would in a house, just, without a set location maybe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. I think that's just kind of something important for social media and stuff in general is like, it's kind of a highlight reel. Like people are just posting, the good stuff and the good times where, sometimes people will post about different things, but in general, there's a lot more going on with traveling, with everything,
Yeah. Yeah. It's easier to take a photo of a beautiful location than for me to take a photo, when I'm broken down in some random spot, it's just also more natural. Like people want to typically see that more beautiful landscape than me broken down behind a pizza joint or something, it's, mm-hmm. So there is, there's a balance there, I think. And, I try not to, post only, all happy stuff. I post when I break down and try to get a good photo and let people know like, hey, this is a part of life. But, I don't post photos of me sleeping in a Walmart parking lot because I just think Walmart parking lots are not exactly the most aesthetically pleasing place.
Yeah, you could just do like a a montage of all the Walmart parking lots across the U.S. That'd be cool.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah.
Okay, so let's say they're kind of a smart driven person who kind of is looking at all this stuff, all this like nomadic living on the road, van life stuff, and they want to do it. They want to make the transition to it. What advice would you have to them to kind of get on the road? And then also, like, what kind of advice do you think that they maybe should ignore?
I think some good advice for someone trying to get on the road is to, before you even like get your vehicle or kind of like get out there, to really think through why you're doing it. I think that, for me, I decided that when I started living on the road full time, that, the day that I stop, saying hi to that person at Walmart who wants to just talk to me or hang out on my bus, and or the day that I stop going to events or festivals to, talk to people who want to live on a bus and share the information that I've learned, is the day that I no longer should be on the road, because that's not the point for me, or I think for a lot of people in the community. So I think that for people, to really think through what's their purpose for being on the road, I think is really important, because it's really going to set you up for, what you're actually doing out there. And why you're going to live on the road. Like, what are the things that are driving you to do that? Advice to ignore. I don't know. Let's ignore.
No, I mean, that's all right. What I do like about you is that you've made it so like social, and you really like get involved with the community and all that stuff. I find that very cool. I really think that's awesome and pretty inspiring to hear about that.
Yeah. I think it's fun. I think I don't know what the point of life would be if we're not like meeting and having fun with people. I mean, especially like out on the road where you meet so many people from different walks of life. Like, I mean, there's not much point of being on the road if you're not looking to, enjoy it with people. I mean, it's fun to be alone and have some time to yourself, but I think we all need that in ways, but it's also like so much fun to just, meet a fellow traveler who's on the road for a totally different reason, and to just hear their story and let that influence you and help you grow. I mean, it's, I don't know. I don't think you get that many other places. So
yeah, definitely, man. Right on. This is cool. So, I guess we went over it a bit, but why don't can you just tell everybody where they can connect with you and find you online and stuff?
Yeah, sure. Well, you could find me on Instagram or YouTube on NavigationNowhere. I also do have a Facebook page, but if you're trying to contact me, you're going to get me through Instagram or YouTube a lot quicker. Yeah, you can find me under there, just NavigationNowhere. If you have any questions or anything or whatnot, you can send me a message or an email. I do respond actually to every single message I get, even if it's just like some really simple question. It's just a matter of time. So I will get back to it unless it somehow magically deletes out of my feed, which has happened. But yeah, send me a message. Hopefully I can help you if you got a question, or you're just looking to say hi, or if you're some crazy cool person who wants to just like go on a crazy trip and you see me driving down the road, I mean, send me a message.
Perfect. Sweet. And then you have navigationnowhere.com too, right?
Yes. Yeah. And then my website is just navigationnowhere.com, where you can find pretty much information about me, my bus build, and I write some blogs about information about, bus building and helping people kind of understand the road life a little bit.
Right on. Cool. Well, man, thanks again for being on the show, Michael. It was super fun talking to you. I love hearing about all this stuff, and your bus is just flipping sweet. So thanks again, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was a lot of fun, and I'm glad we were able to connect.
Yeah, awesome. Well, enjoy the rest of your travels. Have a good week. All right.
Yeah, thank you.
How do construction workers party? They raise the roof, and you should always trust a glue salesman. They tend to stick to their word. Oh my! Those are some examples of puns. Do you guys like puns? They're okay. Puns are all right. Some people call them dad jokes and different stuff. But I want to do something fun, hopefully, maybe punny, if you could say that. and do sort of a little contest where you guys get to write your best puns. So here's how it works. Just head over to iTunes or Stitcher and leave a review for the podcast, but not a normal review. Make it punny. Put a pun in there and make it good and funny for us to read. And then what I'll do is next week or the week after the episode, I will read some of the best pun reviews that we got. So hopefully that'll be fun, and it'll be kind of a way for us to get some more reviews for the podcast because it does really help us out. So if you want to do that, just go over to iTunes or Stitcher, leave a review, make it punny. I'll read it on the next episode. So thank you guys again for being here and listening to the show. I hope you guys do that. Hopefully it'll be fun and not super weird or something. But yes, again, you can follow us on Instagram at Campers and Vans Getting Coffee. We're on Twitter. We're on Facebook. We're on YouTube. Our website is campersandvansgettingcoffee.com. So go check out all that stuff. So just thanks again, guys, for listening and being here to the end of the episode. Super appreciate you guys. And that's it. Have a good one. Thanks, guys.